The bass clef. The bass clef, also called F clef, looks like this. The bass clef establishes the note F on the fourth line of the staff, that is here. So the note on the fourth line, between these dots here, is called F. Then again, as before, notes are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So going up, we're going the right direction of the alphabet. So the next note would be, can you guess it? That's correct. It's a G. And then we keep going the alphabet, going upwards or ascending. And here we have a similar line that we talked about in the lesson before in the treble clef. We are following the alphabet. These are the 2 last letters of the 7 letters. So here we start again going through the alphabet. So it's F, G, and then we start off with the alphabet again, A, B, and C. And again, you notice the ledger line here for the C. Now this is actually called a middle C. We'll talk about middle C in more detail later on in these lessons. Now what happens if the notes are going downwards? Descending, as we call it. What would be the note names then? Well, let's take a look. Now here we have the notes going downwards. Remember that we talked about the alphabet? If we're going upwards or ascending, we will simply follow the alphabet. But if we're going downwards, we go backwards in the alphabet. So, if we go backwards, this note would be, that's correct, it would be an E. And the next note would be, yes, it would be a D. And then we continue backwards the alphabet. The 7 letters, remember, there are only 7 letters that we use for naming the note names. So there we have it. The row of notes going backwards the alphabet. F, E, D, C, B, A, G, and F. So if you go from A and you go backwards, you see the alphabet here. A, B, C, D, E, F, and then the next note will be G, and A, and B. Tricks to remember the note names. To help you remember the lines and spaces, you may wish to make up a saying that uses the letters of the lines and spaces. For example, to remember the treble clef lines, you make up the saying, every good boy does fine. Let's have a look. Now what do we mean by this sentence? Every good boy does fine. Well, it's just a trick to remember the note names on the lines. So, on the first line, there is an E. On the second line, there is a G. And on the third line, there is a B. On the fourth line, there is a D. And on the fifth line, there is an F. So you get the picture? There you go. Every good boy does fine. And remember that this applies to the treble clef. Now, what about the spaces? Can we make up a trick to remember the spaces? Remember the spaces are here. Between, there are 4 spaces. Well, let's have a look. Here we have the notes in the spaces. And fortunately for us, this actually makes up for a word. And the word is face. In the first space we have F. In the second space we have A. In the third space we have C. And in the fourth space we have E. So that makes up the word face. So we have two tricks to remember the note names in treble clef. Every good boy does fine, which is for the lines, and this one, face, for the spaces. Now we just saw two tricks to remember the note names for the treble clef. Well, to remember the note names on the lines and on the spaces in bass clef or F clef, we can do a similar trick. You can even invent your own sentence. But here we have the notes on the lines. Here's on the first line. This one is on the first line. This one is on the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So let's make up a sentence. For example, this one here. Good boy does fine always. G, B, D, F, and A. So that's one idea, but you can make up your own if you want to. So let's find out if we can make a sentence for the spaces in bass clef. As I said before, you can make your own sentences if you want to. But here's an idea. All cows eat grass. We start off in the first space. A. All cows eat E. Grass. G. So that's one way of remembering the note names of treble clef and bass clef.